Hello my friends, welcome to Cooking with Kayla. I'm Kayla, one of the registered dietitian nutritionists at San Antonio Regional Hospital, and I wanted to start by wishing you a very happy holiday season. Today we're going to be making two recipes that you could actually put in jars and give to friends or family as gifts. The first is going to be an apple spice granola bar in a jar, which is super cute and extra delicious, and the other is a hot cocoa mix that you can enjoy on a cold fall or winter day. So stick around and we'll get started with our apple spice granola bars. So now we're going to get started with making our apple spice granola bars in a jar. I'm going to show you how you can put all of the dry ingredients into a jar, because this is one of those recipes where you just dump everything into the bowl and mix it all together. So if you were to make this for a gift, you would just want to get a 16-ounce jar, mason jar, or any kind of jar with a lid. I've even used old peanut butter jars that are made of glass to use for something like this. Just make sure you wash them really well. And for this, I like to put the cinnamon and the chia seeds down at the bottom first, because if you put them at the top, then they kind of like seep through all the ingredients and it makes it so you don't get that nice layering effect. So we're going to start by adding in 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. Cinnamon is going to be our spice for this recipe, and it really pairs well with the apples. They also found that cinnamon helps your body utilize the insulin so that you don't get as much blood sugar spikes. Next are going to be the chia seeds. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. They're tiny little seeds and they're really high in fiber. What they do is when they go into your body, they suck up all the fluid and they expand kind of like a sponge. So it's really good for our body and healthy digestion. So we have 2 tablespoons of our chia seeds in. And next we're going to add in half a cup of chocolate chips, my favorite. Today we're using the mini chocolate chips because since they're so small, they're going to evenly disperse throughout the recipe, so you get a little surprise with every bite. So we're going to add in half a cup of our chocolate chips. If you had a funnel, you could use it here. I'm kind of just guiding it in unsuccessfully with my hands. That's okay. This will be a snack for later. We'll just give that a shake so that we already see that our layering effect is happening. And next we're going to add in 1 cup of rolled oats. We don't want to use the instant oats for this. I think that the whole rolled oats gives it a little bit of texture in the finished product, but if you only had the instant oats, that would work as well. The oats are full of fiber. They're going to help you to feel full, and this is kind of like a fun way of having oatmeal in the morning. Kind of making a mess, but it's still really fun. So we just give that a nice shake. We've got the layering effect going on. Next is going to be our pepitas. Pepitas are also known as pumpkin seeds, but you can see that they're green because the white hull or shell has been removed. So we're going to put half a cup of our pumpkin seeds in next. These are a little bit easier. Oh, I spoke too soon. Making a mess here. That's okay. So we're just going to smush it all into the jar. It's nice and full. There we go. Then you put the lid on and tie a beautiful ribbon around it with the recipe, and it would be a beautiful gift to give to a friend or family member. So when we come back, I'm going to show you how you put everything in this jar with the wet ingredients so that you can make your apple spice granola bars. So now that we have our dry ingredients ready and in the jar, if this was going to be your gift recipient, they could start making the recipe. So we're going to start by putting half a cup of maple syrup. We're going to do our wet ingredients. Maple syrup is a liquid sweetener, and the darker the better as far as flavor is concerned. You could also use honey, but I like to use maple syrup because I like the flavor of the maple syrup. Also, maple syrup's really high in antioxidants and minerals, so you get a little extra boost, but this is going to add our sweetness to the dish and really help everything stick together. I like to do the maple syrup before the nut butter because the maple syrup kind of lubricates the measuring cup so that it doesn't stick as much, because the cashew butter is pretty sticky. So today we're using cashew butter because it has a mild flavor. I'm using creamy, unsalted cashew butter, but you could use any nut butter that you like. If you like peanut butter, you could use that. If you like almond butter, sunflower seed butter. I just like the cashew butter because it really lets the flavor of the apples and the cinnamon shine in this. If you wanted to use a chunky nut butter, you could do that too. You would just have little bits of peanuts or whatever nut you use in your recipe, which could be tasty as well. We are making a granola bar after all. So we have half a cup here going into the dish. There we go. See, it didn't stick too bad because we did the maple syrup first. And then last, we're gonna add in some applesauce. This is half a cup of unsweetened applesauce. These are the little snack packs that people sometimes put in their lunch boxes, perfectly portioned to be half a cup. If you didn't have applesauce, you could probably put a grated apple, or you could make a quick applesauce on your own. I've also made this recipe using half a cup of pumpkin puree. You might just want to switch to maybe a pumpkin pie spice instead if you wanted to make this recipe in the fall. So we have all of our wet ingredients here, and we're going to give it a good stir until everything is mixed together. Looking good. And now we are going to take all of our dry ingredients that we pre-measured, and we're just going to dump it in. How easy is that? Right into the bowl, and mix it all together until it's combined. And then we're going to put it in our pan to bake. So now that our mixture is ready, we're going to go ahead and put it into our pan. What I like to do is, just to make it ready, is get a little bit of parchment paper. And I actually have the pre-cut kind today. What I did is I just cut the pre-cut one in half, and you get this piece, which fits perfectly in our pan. So you just kind of put it in and push down, and this is going to make it really easy to pull out our granola bars when they're finished. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our prepared mixture, and we're going to pour it into the pan. It doesn't need to be pretty because we're going to smash it all down to fill the pan. And this is going to make about 12 granola bars. It's going to make a really nice treat to have for breakfast or as a snack. You could pair it with a protein like maybe a hard-cooked egg, and you'd have a quick breakfast ready to go out the door in the morning. So I'm just going to smash it down into the pan. We want it to be pretty flat and even across. And then I like to top it with a little bit of pepitas and some oats, just to add a little bit of color on top. You could also top it with a few chocolate chips if you wanted, but we're not going to do that today. So I'm going to start by sprinkling our oats in, and just kind of try to be as even as possible. And those get a little bit crispy in the oven, and it looks really pretty. We've got our oats, 1 tablespoon, and then about 1 tablespoon of those pepitas, the pretty green color. We've got them all sprinkled in, and now this is going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. And when it's finished, it looks like this, our finished product. And so, like I was saying before, since we used that parchment paper, you can just kind of cut on the side where there was no parchment paper, and it's going to lift out pretty easily. Let's see. Mark my words. Look at that! Nice and simple parchment paper trick. So to cut it into 12 granola bars, you could either do squares by cutting down lengthwise and then across, or we're going to do more of like the granola bar shape today. So I'm just going to cut down the middle first. Pizza cutter would work really well for this job. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to want 6, so I'm going to cut down the middle. And then I'm going to cut 2 more this way, and then another one. And so we have 6 on this side, and then if I kept cutting, we'll have another 6 on this side. And we have our 12 granola bars. Look how easy that was. I think I'll serve myself one. Take one from the middle. I like them when they're a little extra gooey. So we've got our granola bar. Looks delicious. I think I'll take a taste. Excellent treat to have. When we come back, we're going to make some hot cocoa. There's nothing cozier than sitting by the fire on a cold winter or fall evening with a little cup of hot cocoa. So now I'm going to show you how you can make some hot cocoa mix that you could drink tonight or save for another time or even give as a gift like I showed you in this jar earlier. Our first ingredient is going to be granulated sugar. I'm using just granulated white sugar today. It's okay to have a little bit of sugar every so often in moderation. I'm using 1/3 of a cup. When we do dry measures, it's always good to use a knife to just level it out, make sure you're getting the right amount. And now we're going to add in a little bit of vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon. The vanilla is going to help everything to taste a little bit sweeter and add a little extra flavor. This is totally optional to add. If you're planning on making this mix and saving it in your pantry for a long time, then probably omit the vanilla because it's wet. And so it is going to decrease the shelf life a little bit, but I think it just smells amazing. Or you could use a powdered vanilla or almond extract, peppermint extract, even an orange extract might go well in this recipe. So I'm just whisking it all together until combined. So we have our sugar and our vanilla. Smells delicious. Next we're going to add our non-fat dry milk. My dad bought this huge package of non-fat dry milk during the COVID pandemic, and so we're looking for a way to use that up, and this hot cocoa mix is the perfect way to use it up. You can check on the package to see when the expiration date is. The non-fat dry milk is going to have a longer expiration date because there's not any fat in it, so it'll last longer. So if you're planning on making this and storing it for a while in your pantry, then you can go ahead and check those expiration dates and try to get one that expires later so that you can keep your hot cocoa mix in your pantry for longer. So we're going to do 3/4 of a cup. And again, we're doing dry measures, so I'm using my knife to level it out. Did 1/2 cup and then 1/4 cup equals 3/4 of a cup. There we go. And next we're going to add in our cocoa. So this is cocoa powder, and it's very, very low in fat because when they make cocoa powder, they separate it from the cocoa butter. And so that's the fatty part of the chocolate. And when you have a chocolate bar, it's cocoa powder and cocoa butter mixed together, sometimes with some sugar. So the cocoa powder, we're going to use 1/3 of a cup. So we're going to stick our measuring cup in there, and again use our knife method. Let's get all the extra off. This is another super easy recipe because we just dump it all in the bowl and whisk it together and we're good to go. So we've got 1/3 of a cup of that, and next we're going to add in 1/2 tablespoon of cornstarch. If you didn't have cornstarch, you could also use arrowroot powder. And what this is going to do is it's just going to add that luscious texture, add a little bit of thickness to our hot cocoa. And I'm just going to stir that in, and it also helps to keep everything separated. When you buy those packaged hot chocolates, they often put a lot of extra ingredients in to stabilize and whatnot, so that's what our cornstarch is going to do for us. Then we have 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is just going to help to bring out the sweet flavor of our hot cocoa. And now we just whisk it all together until it's all combined. We want to make sure there's not any clumps. If you had a fine strainer, you could also put this through your strainer before putting it in the bowl, and that would help to make sure that all of your lumps were taken out. I used to think that you could only have hot cocoa by buying those little packets at the grocery store or getting it in a tin, but it's so fun to be able to make your own using a lot of pantry ingredients that you probably already have on hand. So that looks pretty well mixed together. And then if you wanted to turn this into a jar to give as a gift or to store for yourself, what you would do next is you would take your jar, and then you would take, I have some extra parchment paper here that I'm going to use as a funnel because I don't have a funnel with me today. And then what you could do is just take a measuring cup and scoop your cocoa powder, and it'll go right on through until your jar is all filled up. And when I made this jar, I had a little bit of space at the top, so I put some mini chocolate chips and a few marshmallows and a tablespoon scoop so that when I gave my recipient their gift, they would know that they put 2 tablespoons of the mix with 6 ounces of water, and they stir it up, or with a little milk if they want it to be extra creamy. There you have a sweet little gift that you could give to a friend or a family member. Super simple to create a hot cocoa mix. So I'm going to go get a little bit of hot water and pour myself a cup. So what you do is you do 2 tablespoons of your freshly made hot cocoa mix into a mug. I have my holiday mug ready to go today. So I've got 2 tablespoons or 1/8 of a cup of our mix in the bottom of my mug. And then I have 6 ounces of water, and it's hot water. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pour a little bit in. And I like to just get it started. I'm actually using a fork because the fork is gonna help to get everything combined a little bit easier than a spoon would. I just like to get it started ahead of time just to help get rid of any clumps. You could also, to make this extra luscious and creamy, use any kind of milk of choice. 6 ounces to 2 tablespoons of your hot cocoa mix. Pour it in, give it a good stir. Smells really good. I feel like it's already fall and I'm ready to sit by the fire. Just for fun, I'm gonna put a few marshmallows in, because I remember when I was a kid, I used to just put some marshmallows into my hot cocoa. It just makes it feel more fun and cozy. So I've got my hot cocoa ready to go, and I've got my apple spice granola bar. I'm ready for a cozy night in. I think I'll take a sip of my cocoa. Delicious. I'm wishing you a very happy holiday from my kitchen to yours. And remember, be gentle with yourself. See you next time.